Other interesting business news, you have Mercedes EV sales down 42% as people, turns out they don't want them. This after Mercedes also said, oh yeah, the new Mercedes AMG CEO said, well, maybe instead of having handcrafted V8 engines, customers want tech, which is hilariously, comically, mentally vacuous, also known as stupid, because again, AMG started as a third-party independent company, handcrafting, basically making the V8s even more, even higher quality, more performance oriented. Mercedes eventually bought them out. Now you have the AMG line of Mercedes, which was renowned for handcrafted performance engines. Now the same might go to tech, and Mercedes usually knows what they've been doing. They're the oldest, most successful car manufacturer ever. I mean, they're still around, still in business, and they do some good things. Wish most of their cars had three pedals. They should, especially the GT. That should be default, but I partially digress. When it comes to the EVs, they tip their toe, or rather, they rolled their tire into the lake of EVs, and yeah, it turned out is to be shocking, but not in a good way. Now this comes to us thanks to the good old Motor1.com, which they specifically say, "quote No one wants Mercedes EVs. U.S. sales of the company's electric cars are down big time for third quarter 2024." Yeah, it's 42. Oh, geez, 42%. There you can see one of those abominations to engineering, which, granted, you know me, every car I would ever hope to own will have three pedals, also known as a manual transmission and a good old, internal combustion engine. Currently loving my Honda Civic Si with a turbocharged inline-four engine. Hope to someday have a V8, even a V10 or V12 someday. But yeah, in terms of the styling, gosh, something about these grills just looks like such a bastardization. Because again, you don't need an actual grill for the airflow to get to the engine because there's no engine, there's electric motors. But they still have like the decal for the grill for the Mercedes car, and it almost looks like a bastardized Tesla. They have a it's somewhat similar curves, and they sold a few in the beginning, but it turns out the sales figures are crashing like a Boeing airplane, which yeah, that company's not doing well, great either. And they say this is again thanks to Brian, who's right over there, specifically Brian Silvestro. They quote, Mercedes isn't having a great time in its electric lineup of vehicles. The company has reported U.S. sales for the third quarter, revealing yet another 3 months of failing sales for, geez Louise. I don't like this when any car company does it, including BMW and even Cadillac, which they don't have a name for the car, they just have a nomenclature. So instead of like a Cadillac Sienne or something like, they have the CT4V Blackwing, which I can only memorize because I aspire to own one because, turbocharged stick shift, V6, then CT5V Blackwing's a stick shift V8. That's rare, and I hope to have it someday. But even then, I think it's disappointing when they have these uninspiring names. So these are the EV Mercedes. Let me know. Does this inspire like a cool thing to own? The EQB sounds like a Call of Duty acronym or something. So you got the EQB, the EQE, then the EQS, which to me is just utterly disappointing. What do you drive, Johnson? Oh yeah, I got the EQS. I mean, you got the POS, Johnson, the POS, the car that won't last more than 10 years. And good luck having software support and battery support when those inevitably go bad, years down the road. But I partially digress. They say, quote, sales of those three nameplates are down 40% for Q4 2024 from 9,984 cars sold last year in the same period to 5,769 cars this year, which, wow. So they sold 5,769 cars this year, which is 5,761 cars more than I thought they would sell during this past fiscal quarter. Because, again, it's a Mercedes EV, which, yeah, I don't think so. Now they say Mercedes doesn't break down the sales by body style, so we can't tell whether the SUV versions of the EQE and EQS are faring any better than the other sedans. Either way, things aren't great for the EQ brand, which, yeah, I don't know who thought of that name. EQ? Terrible marketing. Terrible. So uninspiring. Like, even just having it's kind of a cop out, but even just saying Mercedes EV, that would at least help the people who have no idea what you're talking about. This, you only know what it is if you're a diehard enthusiast. Yeah, like a Mercedes EV, or like just MEV, like Mercedes EV. Like, even that's simpler. Then add some stupid extra letters on there. But yeah, the EQ brand. Right. And I say, quote, this quarter has been a bit different than Q2 when the smallest EV of the bunch, the EQB, which how do you know that unless, yeah, the EQB is the smallest. Come on. Got healthy sales boost in springtime. Still, all three car sales are down year over year, with the EQS being the worst offender, losing 50%, ouch, of its sales compared to the same time period last year. Which, yeah, gosh, it looks so uninspiring. Let's look at there's some fun statistics on the screen. Oh, yeah, look at all the car sales And oh, that's funny. Well, to me, yeah, a lot of the ICE engines are doing good. The GLC is up 62%. That's really good. The SL is down 78%. The EQs are down 20%, 50%, 29%. Or sorry, 20%, 50%, and 15%. Which, and again, I only know the Mercedes GT by name just because it's, well, it's also the simplest of all the letters. Has, but one of those things with that car looks iconic, and also has a V8 as, they should all have by default. Should also have a stick shift. Come on, Mercedes. I know not every customer out there wants it, but there's a couple that really appreciate that. And I think it increased sales by a little bit. Now, this is also one of those brands that go, oh yeah, we're gonna go all these short. I don't know. I think they're short-sighted or just, I don't know, they were just trying to appease some government regulators. But I mean, a lot of these car companies said, oh yeah, we're gonna go all in EVs by 2030, 2035. And yeah, the consumers started to put the brakes on that pretty quick as the adoption rate of EVs has really dramatically decreased throughout the past couple of years, with the fastest growing consumer interest area being hybrids, which granted I'm not a fan of, but that's where a lot of the market seems to be trending in the United States, especially, which again, Toyota called it because that was one of the few automotive companies that said, we're not going to go in all EVs. We're going to spend, I think the allocation of their research and development fund was about 7 times more on hybrid technologies versus the EV technologies, which they read the room right. And they actually are nice to consumers. They give them the option for a stick shift for several of those fun little sport cars they make there. And even the truck. The only truck in North America left with the stick shift is the Toyota. The good old Tacoma. It could even come in green. So, again, I'm not a paid ambassador, but geez, of all the car companies, I kind of like them. They're up there in terms of my favorability just because they actually give the consumer the option of the stick shift, which is a rare thing these days. But I partially digress, though, just for now. Now, they say, quote, Mercedes understands things aren't going as planned for EVs. The company admitted earlier this year it was too enthusiastic about the electrification goals before scrapping its large planned EV platform, originally set to debut in 2028. In May, CEO Ola Kallenstein confirmed that it would pivot from a similar strategy with BMW's approach, offering EV and gas-powered versions of the next S-Class instead of a new EQS, which, as my memory's not bad, I still remember from a couple minutes ago when that's one of the names for the abominations of engineering at Mercedes. It's the EQS. It's one of their EV models, which, of all the things I have to store in my head, hopefully I forget about that soon enough. And they say, quote, Mercedes-Benz were the only big losers this quarter. The E-Class just 2 years ago with big refresh is down 51% over the same period. SL convertibles having even worse this year, dropping 81% in the same time period. So not doing great overall, those as well. And again, there's even more competition for EVs, even though, I mean, when it comes to Tesla, there's a lot of controversy these days because Elon loves freedom of speech and he's more bombastic, energetic, and outspoken than other, pretty much, I was about to say than pretty much any CEO these days, if we're being honest. So that's turned away some people away from Tesla. But you also have some other, folks coming out there. GM just passed Ford Motor Company in terms of EV production. So if you like to drive your car once a week and have it 6 days in shop and go that route, I'm only partially kidding. But yeah, they have lots of recalls. But nevertheless, do you think, will things turn around for Mercedes? But when you think of Mercedes, I don't know, at least from my perspective, I always thought, high quality, handcrafted, German engineering, one of the most, the oldest brand out there, the oldest company out there, Daimler Group. It was never EV and tech, which again, I'm not saying the market does not exist. I'm just wondering how much are you deviating from your core foundation of a company, which you do have to adapt, but is it, if they went all EV, well, first of all, they go out of business because pretty much any company would at this point. But do you think the average Mercedes buyer, and granted, demographics do change over time, do you think they'd really prefer to have an EV Mercedes? Of all the EVs you can buy out there, is there a bigger compelling reason? Do you think it's more luxurious than competition? Are you willing to pay that extra price point? Let me know in the comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, try to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make sure better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.